There are moments in life when everything seems ordinary on the surface, yet something deeper is shifting in the unseen realm. This is one of those moments. This is not just another message you happen to come across while scrolling. This is not coincidence, and it is not random. This is what can only be described as a final warning from heaven. Right now, there is an urgency in the spirit that cannot be ignored. A divine alert that has been released specifically for you at this exact time. You may not fully understand why you feel a sudden pause, a hesitation, or even a strange pull to listen closely, but that feeling is not accidental. It is the signal that something beyond the physical world is trying to reach you before it is too late. God is not silent when danger approaches. Throughout time, warnings have always come before major events. But here is the truth that many overlook. When the warning comes, it often doesn't look dramatic or loud. It comes quietly, through moments like this, through a message that interrupts your normal routine. And right now, something is trying to interrupt your life in a much more destructive way. There is a sudden tragedy attempting to find its way into your house, into your space, into your peace. It has not fully manifested yet, but it is closer than you think. And this message, this very moment you are in right now, is acting as the only thing standing in its path. You need to understand how serious this is. The spiritual realm does not operate randomly. There are movements, assignments, and forces that operate with intention. And when something negative is sent toward a person or a household, it looks for an opening. It looks for distraction, for ignorance, for delay. It looks for the exact moment when you are unaware, when you are too busy, or when you choose to ignore the signs placed in front of you. That is why this warning has come with such urgency. Because right now, you are standing at a critical intersection, one where your awareness can either block what is coming, or your silence can allow it to pass through. There is a reason the message is so direct. A sudden tragedy is trying to enter your house. These are not casual words. They are not meant to scare you but to wake you up. Something unexpected, something disruptive, something that carries the potential to shake your environment is attempting to gain access. It may not look the same for everyone. For some, it could be conflict. For others, loss, confusion, or a sudden shift that brings instability. But the common thread is this: it is uninvited, and it is not meant to remain if you become aware in time. And this is where the power of this moment becomes clear. Because awareness changes everything. When you are aware, you are no longer vulnerable in the same way. When you recognize that something is trying to approach, you gain the authority to respond, to prepare, and to stop it before it crosses the threshold. This message is not just information, it is intervention. It is standing like a barrier between what is trying to reach you and the place you call home. But there is also a warning within the warning itself. The message says clearly, if you scroll past this, you are choosing to face it alone. That is not a threat, it is a reality. Because ignoring a warning does not cancel what is coming. It simply removes the protection that the warning provides. When God reaches out and you turn away, you are not being punished. You are stepping out of alignment with the very thing that was sent to protect you. And that choice carries consequences that many do not realize until it is too late. You might feel the weight of these words right now. You might sense that this is different from anything you have heard before. That is because it is. This is not meant to entertain you. It is meant to reach you. There is a divine urgency tied to this exact moment, and it is connected to timing. The mention of 11:57 p.m. is not random. It represents a closing window, a point where action must be taken before something shifts. Time, in moments like this, becomes more than just numbers. It becomes a boundary between prevention and consequence. Right now, you are still within that window. Right now, you are still in the place where awareness can change the outcome. But the longer you delay, the closer that unseen force moves toward its target. This is why the message is pressing, why it feels intense, and why it refuses to be ignored. Because heaven does not send final warnings without reason. When a message like this appears, it is because something has already been set in motion, and this is your opportunity to stop it. So do not brush this off. Do not treat this like just another video or another voice passing through your day. This is a moment of decision. This is the point where you either recognize what is being revealed to you, or you let it slip away and face whatever follows without preparation. The choice is yours, but the warning has been given. And now that you have heard it, you cannot say you were not told. There is something you need to understand very clearly right now. You did not arrive at this message by accident. Out of millions of distractions, countless videos, endless scrolling paths, you were led here, to this exact moment, to hear these exact words. That is not coincidence. That is not luck. That is divine interruption. And when heaven interrupts your normal flow, it is never without reason. It is because something significant is at stake, and your attention has become the key to what happens next. You may have been scrolling without thinking, moving from one thing to another, not expecting anything meaningful to appear. But suddenly, something made you stop. Something made you read the title. Something inside you said, "Wait, this is different." That feeling was not random. It was a moment you were chosen to receive this warning. Because when God needs to reach someone urgently, He does not wait for perfect conditions. He steps into the middle of their routine and redirects their focus. That is exactly what is happening right now. Being chosen in this moment does not mean you are being singled out for something negative. It means you are being given an advantage that many others will not receive. While others remain unaware, while others continue moving blindly toward situations they do not see coming, you have been given a chance to pause, to recognize, and to respond. That is what makes this moment powerful. It is not about fear, it is about preparation. It is about awareness. It is about stepping into a position where you are no longer caught off guard. But here is where it becomes even more serious. When you are chosen to receive a warning, there is also a responsibility that comes with it. Because now that you are aware, your response matters. Ignoring something after you know it exists carries a different weight than not knowing at all. This is why this moment is so critical. You are not just listening, you are being positioned. Positioned to act, to align, and to protect what has been entrusted to you. There are people who go through sudden disruptions in their lives and later say, "I felt something before it happened, I just didn't pay attention." They remember the signs, the subtle nudges, the quiet warnings, but they dismissed them because they didn't seem urgent at the time. Right now, you are being given what they wish they had taken seriously. You are being given clarity before confusion, awareness before impact, and a voice before silence. And that changes everything. You might be wondering, why me? Why was I the one who saw this? Why did this message appear in my path? The answer is simple, but powerful. Because you were meant to see it. Because your situation, your environment, your current moment in life has aligned with this warning in a way that cannot be ignored. God does not send messages without purpose. If this reached you, it is because something connected to your life required it. And here is something even deeper. Sometimes being chosen is not about what you have done, but about what is about to happen. This message is not reacting to your past, It is preparing you for what is trying to enter your future. That is why it feels urgent. That is why it feels direct. Because it is not just speaking to who you are. It is speaking to what is approaching you. There is also mercy in this moment. You were not left to figure things out on your own. You were not left in the dark. Before anything could fully unfold, before anything could cross into your space, this warning was placed directly in front of you. That is not punishment, that is protection. That is what divine care looks like. It reaches you before the impact, not after. But now, there is something you must do. Because a message like this is not meant to be kept to yourself. Awareness is not just protection for one. It can become protection for many. There are others right now who are in the same position you were in just moments ago, unaware, distracted, and vulnerable. And just like this message reached you, it can reach them too, but only if it is shared. So take a moment right now and act. Like this video as a sign that you are acknowledging this warning. Subscribe to this channel so you do not miss future messages that may be just as critical as this one. And most importantly, share this message with someone you care about, because you never know who else is standing at the edge of something they cannot yet see. This is not just content. This is a lifeline, and passing it forward could make a difference you may never fully realize. Also, comment below with the words "I was chosen" as a declaration that you are not ignoring this moment, that you are stepping into awareness, and that you are receiving this message with clarity. When you speak it, you are not just typing words, you are aligning yourself with the very reason this message found you. Because this is what it all comes down to. You were chosen to hear this before it happens. You were chosen to have the chance to respond before it arrives. You were chosen to stand in awareness while others remain in distraction. And what you do next will determine whether this moment becomes just another passing message or the turning point that changed everything. Right now, there is something you cannot see with your eyes, but it is moving with intention. The message you heard earlier was not symbolic alone. It carries a deeper, spiritual reality that many people fail to recognize until it is too late. When we speak of a sudden tragedy trying to enter your house, we are not only talking about a physical event. We are talking about a force, an assignment, something that operates quietly, subtly, and often without immediate detection. It does not announce itself loudly. It does not knock on your door in an obvious way. Instead, it looks for the smallest opening, the slightest moment of unawareness, and that is how it begins to move closer. This is how hidden threats operate. They do not appear as danger at first. They can come disguised as stress, sudden tension, unexplained negativity, or even a shift in atmosphere within your home. You may notice small things, conversations becoming heavier, peace feeling slightly disturbed, a sense of unease that you cannot fully explain. These are not always random occurrences. Sometimes, they are early indicators that something is attempting to position itself within your space. And the danger is not in the size of the beginning. It is in ignoring it until it grows into something much larger. Many people miss these warning signs because they seem too small to matter. A slight argument, a strange feeling, an unexpected disruption. These things are often brushed off as normal life. But what you must understand is that larger events rarely begin as large events. They start quietly. They start subtly. And they grow when they are not recognized. This is why this message is so critical. It is not waiting for the tragedy to fully appear. It is warning you while it is still at the door, while it is still trying to find a way in. There is also a spiritual atmosphere around every home. Whether people realize it or not, the environment you live in carries energy, influence, and alignment. When that atmosphere is strong, aware, and protected, negative forces struggle to enter. But when there is distraction, when there is disconnection, when awareness is low, it creates openings. And those openings are exactly what unseen threats are looking for. Right now, this message is drawing your attention back to that atmosphere. It is asking you to look closely, to feel deeply, and to recognize if something has been shifting around you. Have there been moments recently where things felt slightly off? Moments where peace didn't feel as stable as it usually does? Moments where you sensed something but ignored it because you couldn't explain it? Those are the kinds of signals that often come before something bigger. And ignoring them does not make them disappear. It only allows them to continue developing unnoticed. But here is where everything begins to change. The moment you become aware, the moment you acknowledge that something could be approaching, you interrupt its ability to move freely. Awareness is not passive, it is active protection. When you recognize a threat before it enters, you are no longer vulnerable in the same way. You shift from being a target to being prepared, and that shift alone can stop what was trying to happen. This is why the message came before the event. Because once something fully enters, it becomes harder to remove. But when it is still outside, when it is still in the process of approaching, it can be blocked, redirected, and stopped completely. That is the power of this moment. You are not late. You are right on time to prevent something that has not yet fully formed in your reality. And you must take this seriously, not with fear, but with clarity. Fear clouds judgment, but awareness sharpens it. You are not being told this to panic. You are being told this so you can stand firm, so you can recognize what is happening, and so you can respond with intention. Because ignoring a hidden threat does not protect you from it. Only awareness and action do. There is something else you need to hear clearly. This is not the first time a warning has come into your life. There have been moments before where you felt something, where you sensed something, where you were nudged in a direction. But maybe you ignored it. Maybe you delayed. Maybe you thought it wasn't important. And later, you realized that those moments mattered more than you initially believed. This time is different. This time, you are being given another chance to respond correctly, to take it seriously, and to act before anything unfolds. So right now, pause and reflect. Look at your surroundings. Think about your recent experiences. Pay attention to what you may have overlooked. Because the hidden threat does not succeed through force. It succeeds through silence, through being unnoticed, through being ignored. And the moment you refuse to ignore it, the moment you bring it into awareness, its power begins to weaken. Type "I am protected" in the comments if this resonates with you. Blessing code 911 is now activated. And as you stand in this awareness, remember this. What you have just uncovered is only the beginning. There is a deeper layer to this, something even more significant about why this message itself is acting as a barrier. Because this is not just about identifying the threat, it is about understanding the power that is already standing between you and it. Hold on. What comes next changes everything. What you are receiving right now is not just a warning. It is a divine intervention meant to reach souls before darkness does. Every time you sow into this mission, you are helping this light travel further, breaking chains in homes you may never see. The word says, "I will pour water on the thirsty land, and streams on the dry ground," and today, your giving becomes that stream for someone else. I feel led to say this clearly. When you act in this moment, you are not supporting a channel. You are answering a heavenly call. If this message has stirred something in your spirit, then this is your moment to respond prophetically. Through super thanks, membership, or even a PayPal seed, You are placing oil into the lamp that keeps this warning alive for others. The PayPal link is in the description, and the QR code is on your screen. This is not by accident. As you give, may protection rest over your house, and may every unseen threat be turned away before it reaches you. Step into this act now, and let your obedience become someone else's rescue. There is a question rising in your mind right now, and it is an important one. If something is truly trying to enter your house, then how can a message, just words, just a voice, stand in its way? How can something you are hearing right now become a barrier against something you cannot even see? The answer is deeper than logic, and it is rooted in a truth that has been proven time and time again. Divine warnings are never empty. They carry authority. They carry power. And when received, they activate protection. This message is not standing in the way because of its sound. It is standing in the way because of what it represents. It represents awareness, alignment, and intervention. And these three things together form a shield that unseen forces cannot easily pass through. You see, what is trying to approach you depends on one thing above all else. It depends on you not knowing. It depends on silence. It depends on you being unaware of its movement. Because when you are unaware, you do not resist. And when you do not resist, it moves freely. But the moment awareness is introduced, everything changes. This is why divine warnings have always been sent before significant events. Throughout history, before moments of destruction, confusion, or loss, there has always been a voice, a signal, a message that came first. Not to create fear, but to create preparation. Not to overwhelm, but to protect. And those who listened, those who paid attention, those who took the warning seriously, they were the ones who avoided what others could not. Right now, you are in that exact position. This message is functioning as a line that has been drawn. On one side of that line is what is trying to enter. On the other side is you, aware, alert, and now capable of responding. And as long as you remain in that awareness, as long as you do not dismiss what you have heard, that line remains strong. It remains a boundary that cannot easily be crossed. But here is something that must be understood very clearly. This message only stands in the way if you allow it to. Its power is not automatic. It is activated through your response. If you hear it and ignore it, if you acknowledge it but take no action, then the barrier weakens. Not because the message failed, but because it was not received in full. Protection requires participation. Awareness requires response. This is why this moment matters so much. You are not just being informed. You are being invited into alignment. Alignment with protection. Alignment with awareness. Alignment with the very thing that is trying to keep you safe. And alignment is not passive. It is active. It is a decision. It is the choice to take what you have heard seriously and to let it influence what you do next. There is also something powerful about timing in all of this. This message did not come after the event. It came before. That alone tells you that it is not a reaction. It is an intervention. It is positioned in such a way that it can stop something before it begins, rather than trying to fix it after it has already unfolded. And prevention is always more powerful than recovery. Think about that for a moment. How many situations in life become difficult not because they were unstoppable, but because they were unrecognized at the beginning? How many times have people looked back and said, "If only I had known earlier, if only I had paid attention"? This message removes that regret. It places you in a position where you can say, "I knew. I saw it. And I responded." That is the difference between being caught off guard and being prepared. And preparation is exactly what this message is creating in you right now. It is shifting your mindset. It is sharpening your awareness. It is pulling you out of distraction and placing you into clarity. And that shift alone disrupts what was trying to move toward you unnoticed. Because what operates in darkness loses strength when it is brought into the light of awareness. This is why you may feel a sense of seriousness, even heaviness, as you listen to this. Not fear, but weight. A weight of realizing that this moment is important. The weight of understanding that something real is being addressed. That feeling is not meant to overwhelm you. It is meant to ground you. It is meant to anchor you in the reality that this is not just another passing message. It is a protective intervention that requires your full attention. And there is something else that must be said. This message is not here to control you. It is here to give you a choice. Because true protection is never forced. It is offered. You have the freedom to ignore this, to move on, to treat it like nothing more than words. But you also have the power to accept it, to act on it, and to allow it to stand fully between you and what is trying to approach. That choice is what determines the outcome. So right now, you are standing at a point of decision. Not a dramatic one on the outside, but a powerful one on the inside. Will you treat this as just information, or will you recognize it as intervention? Will you hear it and move on, or will you hear it and respond? Because the truth is simple. Even if it feels intense, this message is standing in the way, but only if you stand with it. And as you begin to understand that, as you begin to feel the weight and the power of what has been placed in front of you, you will start to see something even more clearly. The warning itself is not the only thing you need to pay attention to. There is also a consequence tied to ignoring it. And that is what we are about to uncover next. There is something deeply unsettling about how easily a life-changing moment can be dismissed with a single swipe. One small movement of your finger, 1 second of distraction, and something that carried the potential to protect you is gone from your sight. That is the reality we are facing right now. Because the warning you have received is not just about what is trying to enter your house. It is also about the danger of ignoring the very thing that was sent to stop it. Scrolling past this message may seem harmless. It may feel like just another decision, just another moment in a long stream of content. But what you must understand is that not every moment carries the same weight. Some moments are ordinary, and some are critical. Some are just passing information, and some are divine interruptions designed to shift the course of what is about to happen. This is one of those moments. And treating it like anything less than that comes with consequences that many people fail to recognize until it is too late. When the message says, if you scroll past this, you are choosing to face it alone. It is not trying to create fear. It is revealing a truth. Because ignoring a warning does not stop what is coming. It only removes the protection that the warning was offering. It is like being told that something is approaching your home and deciding not to lock the door, not to prepare, not to even acknowledge it. The danger is not in the warning. The danger is in the decision to act as if the warning never existed. Distraction is one of the most powerful tools that works against awareness. It keeps people moving, keeps them busy, keeps them focused on things that feel urgent but are not truly important. And in the middle of all that movement, something real can be missed. That is how warnings are ignored, not because people are careless, but because they are distracted. And distraction creates distance between you and the truth that could have protected you. Right now, you have been pulled out of that distraction. You have been brought into a moment of clarity. But that clarity can be lost just as quickly as it came if you choose not to hold on to it. Because awareness is not something that stays automatically. It must be maintained. The moment you dismiss it, The moment you decide it is not important enough to act on, it begins to fade. And when it fades, the door that was being held closed begins to open again. There is also a deeper layer to this. Choosing to ignore a message like this is not just about losing information. It is about stepping out of alignment with protection. When something is sent to help you, and you turn away from it, you are not just rejecting the message, you are rejecting the shield that came with it. And that is what it means to face something alone. It means stepping outside of the awareness that could have prepared you and walking forward without it. Many people only realize the importance of a warning after something has already happened. They look back and remember the moment they felt something, the moment they saw something, the moment they were given a chance to pause what they did. And in that realization, there is often regret. Not because the situation was unavoidable, but because it could have been prevented. That is what makes this moment so different. You are not looking back. You are standing in the moment before anything has fully unfolded. This is your opportunity to do what others did not. This is your chance to recognize the importance of what is being placed in front of you and to respond in a way that protects you rather than exposes you. Because ignoring this does not make you stronger. It does not make you independent. It simply removes the advantage you have been given. And there is something else you need to understand. When a warning repeats itself in your life, it is because it was not fully received the first time. Think about that. How many times have you felt something, ignored it, and later wished you had paid attention? How many times have you said, "I had a feeling," after something had already gone wrong? Those moments are not coincidences. They are patterns. And patterns only change when your response changes. Right now, you are being given a chance to break that pattern. You are being given a moment where you can choose awareness over distraction, action over delay, and alignment over avoidance. And that choice is more powerful than you may realize. Because the smallest decision in a moment like this can create the biggest difference in what happens next. So do not minimize this. Do not treat it as something optional. Do not convince yourself that it is not important enough to take seriously. Because the truth is, you would not have been brought here if it did not matter. You would not have felt that pause, that pull, that moment of stillness, if there was nothing to pay attention to. Right now, the message is clear. You have been warned. You have been made aware. And you have been given the chance to respond. The question is not whether the warning is real. The question is what you will do with it. Because scrolling past this is not just a simple action. It is a decision. A decision to either stand within the protection that has been offered to you, or to step outside of it and face whatever comes without preparation. And as you begin to realize the weight of that decision, something even more specific begins to come into focus. Because this is not just about a general warning anymore, it is about understanding exactly what is trying to enter your house and how close it may already be. There's something about a specific time that immediately captures attention. When you hear a warning tied to a precise moment, 11:57 p.m., it does something different than a general statement ever could. It creates urgency. It creates focus. It makes you realize that this is not open-ended, that this is not something you can delay indefinitely. And that is exactly why this detail matters so much. Because in the spiritual realm, timing is never random. It is intentional. It is precise. And it often marks the boundary between opportunity and consequence. You might be asking yourself, why 11:57 p.m.? Why such a specific time? The answer is not about the numbers alone. It is about what they represent. This time sits right on the edge of transition. It is just minutes before the day shifts, just moments before one phase ends and another begins. And in that narrow window, something significant is being highlighted. It is the final opportunity to act before a change takes place. It is the last moment where intervention can occur before something moves forward. This is how spiritual timing often works. There are windows, periods where awareness, action, and alignment can prevent what is trying to happen. But those windows do not stay open forever. They have limits. And once they close, things begin to unfold differently. Not because they were meant to harm you, but because the opportunity to stop them was not taken in time. 11:57 p.m. represents that kind of window. It is not just a time, it is a signal. A signal that what you do now matters more than what you do later. A signal that delay is not neutral in this moment. It is risky. Because when something is approaching, every second counts. And when you are given a specific time frame, it is not to pressure you unnecessarily, but to make you aware that the situation itself is already in motion. Think about it like this. If someone told you that a storm was approaching your house, but you had time to prepare before it arrived, you would not wait until the storm was already at your door. You would act while there was still time. You would secure what needed to be secured. You would pay attention, and you would not ignore the warning simply because the storm had not yet arrived. This is the same principle, just operating on a level that is not immediately visible. Right now, you are in that preparation window. You are in the space where awareness can still shift the outcome. But the mention of 11:57 p.m. is a reminder that this window is not permanent. It is closing. And as it closes, the importance of your response increases. There is also something symbolic about the final minutes before midnight. It is often the quietest time, the moment where most people are unaware, where attention is low, where things feel still. And yet, it is also a moment of transition, where one day ends and another begins. In spiritual terms, transitions are powerful. They are moments where things can either be carried over or cut off completely. And what you choose to do in that transition determines what follows into the next phase. This is why the timing matters so much. Because what is trying to enter your house is not waiting forever. It is moving with its own timing, its own progression. And this message is aligning you with a moment where you can still intercept it. But interception requires action within the window, not after it has passed. You may feel a sense of urgency rising within you as you hear this. That is not accidental. That is the purpose of the warning. Not to create panic, but to create awareness of time. Because time, in moments like this, is not just passing. It is deciding. It is determining whether you respond in alignment or whether you delay until it is no longer possible to prevent what is coming. And here is something that must be understood clearly. When a window closes, it does not mean everything is lost, but it does mean that the situation becomes different. It becomes something that must be handled rather than something that could have been prevented. And prevention is always the stronger position. Right now, you are still in the stronger position. You are still in the place where nothing has fully entered. You are still in the moment where awareness is fresh, where the message is clear, and where your response can still make a complete difference. But that will not remain the same if you choose to delay. This is not about rushing blindly. It is about recognizing that some moments require immediate attention. Some moments are not meant to be postponed. And this is one of them. So as you hear the mention of 11:57 p.m., do not treat it as just a detail. Treat it as a marker. A marker that tells you where you are in this situation. A marker that reminds you that you are at the edge of a decision point. And a marker that urges you to act while the opportunity is still fully within your reach. Because once that moment passes, Once that window closes, the situation moves into a different phase, and what could have been stopped at the door may then require much more to remove. Right now, you are not in that phase. Right now, you are still in the moment of prevention. You are still in the space where awareness, combined with action, can block what is trying to approach. But there is still something you need to understand even more clearly, because knowing the timing is only part of it. The deeper question is this: what exactly is trying to enter your house, and how can you recognize it before it crosses that line? That is what we are about to uncover next. Now we come to one of the most important and revealing parts of this message, the question that has likely been forming in your mind since the beginning. What exactly is trying to enter your house? What is this sudden tragedy that has been described, and how can something unseen have such a strong presence that it requires a warning like this? To understand this, you must look beyond the surface and recognize that not everything that affects your life begins in a visible form. When we speak about something trying to enter your house, it does not always mean a physical event knocking at your door. It can be something that enters quietly, something that attaches itself to your environment, your relationships, your peace, or your stability. Sometimes, what enters is not immediately recognized as a threat. It may appear as a small disruption at first, something you think you can handle, something you believe will pass. But over time, it grows, it spreads, and it begins to affect everything around it. For some, this could manifest as sudden conflict, arguments that come out of nowhere, tension that escalates quickly, misunderstandings that feel heavier than usual. You may find yourself thinking, why is this happening now? Why does this feel so intense? That is because not all conflict is random. Some of it is triggered, amplified, or influenced by something deeper that is trying to create division within your space. For others, it could appear as emotional heaviness, a sudden wave of anxiety, fear, or unease that you cannot fully explain. You may feel like your peace has been disturbed without any clear reason. Things that normally would not affect you start to feel overwhelming. This is another way something can begin to enter, not through events, but through atmosphere. Because once the atmosphere shifts, everything else begins to follow. There are also moments where what tries to enter comes in the form of loss or disruption. Plans begin to fall apart unexpectedly. Things that seemed stable start to shift. You may experience delays, confusion, or a sense that something is not aligning the way it should. These are not always coincidences. Sometimes, they are signs that something is attempting to interfere with the flow of your life. But here is what you must understand: whatever is trying to enter does not have unlimited access. It looks for openings. It looks for entry points. And those entry points are often found in moments of distraction, negativity, fear, or disconnection. When awareness is low, when attention is scattered, when you are not fully present, those are the moments where something can begin to move closer without being noticed. Think about your house for a moment, not just as a physical structure, but as a space that holds your energy, your peace, your environment. Everything that enters that space has an effect, whether you realize it or not. And just like you would not allow something harmful to physically walk through your door, you must also be aware of what is trying to enter in less obvious ways. Sometimes, the entry point is through conversations. Sometimes, it is through thoughts that are not challenged. Sometimes, it is through situations that are allowed to continue without being addressed. These may seem small on their own, but they can become doors if they are not recognized early. This is why awareness is so critical. Because when you know what to look for, you can identify it before it fully enters. You can see the early signs, the subtle shifts, the small changes that signal something is not right. And when you see it early, you have the power to stop it early. Right now, this message is helping you do exactly that. It is not leaving you in confusion. It is giving you clarity. It is showing you the different ways something can try to approach your house so that you are not caught off guard. Because the more you understand, the less vulnerable you become. And there is something else that needs to be said clearly. Not everything that happens is an attack, but some things are assignments. And assignments operate with intention. They are not random. They are directed. And when something is directed toward your space, it is important to recognize it for what it is, rather than dismissing it as coincidence. That does not mean you should become fearful or suspicious of everything. It means you should become aware, calm, clear, and attentive. Because awareness does not weaken you, it strengthens you. It places you in a position where you are not reacting blindly, but responding with understanding. So take a moment now and reflect. Look at your recent experiences. Look at your environment. Look at your interactions. Is there anything that feels out of place? Anything that seems to have shifted suddenly? Anything that does not align with the peace you are used to? These are the areas where you need to pay attention. These are the places where something may be trying to gain access. But here is the most important part. You are not powerless in this situation. Just because something is trying to enter does not mean it will succeed. Its success depends on whether it is allowed in, whether it goes unnoticed, whether it is ignored. And right now, he is no longer unnoticed. Right now, you are aware. And awareness is the first step to stopping it completely. Because once you recognize what is trying to enter, the next step becomes clear. You do not just observe, you act. You take steps to block it, to close the doors it is looking for, and to strengthen the space you live in so that it cannot find a way through. And that is exactly what we are about to move into next. Because knowing what is trying to enter is only part of the process. The real power comes in knowing exactly how to block it immediately. Now that you understand what may be trying to enter your house, the most important question becomes clear. What do you do right now to stop it? Not later. Not when it becomes more visible. But immediately, while you are still in the window of prevention. Because awareness without action is incomplete. It gives you knowledge, but it does not give you protection until you respond. The first thing you must do is take authority over your space. This is not about fear. This is about clarity and intention. Your house is not just a physical structure. It is a place where your peace, your energy, and your life are rooted. And anything that tries to enter without permission does not belong there. You must recognize that you have the right to decide what is allowed and what is not. And that decision begins with your mindset. Right now, shift from passive awareness to active resistance. Do not just observe what might be happening. Declare within yourself that it will not cross into your space. This is where your words begin to matter. Speak over your home, even if it feels simple. Say it with intention. Nothing negative is allowed to enter here. This space is protected. This house stands in peace. These are not just words. They are declarations that align your environment with protection rather than vulnerability. The second step is to bring your attention back to your surroundings. Look at your environment with fresh awareness. Are there areas where tension has been building? Are there conversations that need to be addressed calmly before they escalate? Are there habits or patterns that have been creating small openings without you realizing it? Blocking something immediately does not always mean doing something dramatic. It often means correcting what hath been quietly out of alignment. Close every small door that you can identify. If there has been unresolved tension, bring clarity to it. If there has been negativity, replace it with intentional calm. If there has been distraction, bring your focus back. These small actions may seem simple, but they are powerful because they remove the very openings that something was trying to use. The third step is to strengthen the atmosphere of your home. Remember, what tries to enter often begins by affecting the atmosphere first. So you must shift that atmosphere deliberately. Create an environment that does not welcome disruption. This can be done through peace, through calm conversations, through intentional silence where needed, and through being present rather than scattered. When your environment is steady, it becomes difficult for anything unstable to take hold. There is also power in being alert in this moment. Not anxious, but aware. Pay attention to what happens in the next hours. Notice any sudden changes, any unexpected shifts, any moments that feel out of place. Awareness in real time allows you to respond immediately rather than react later. And when you respond early, you prevent escalation. You must also guard your thoughts, because sometimes what tries to enter does not come through external situations first, it comes through internal shifts. If you suddenly feel fear, doubt, or unease without clear reason, do not accept it immediately. Question it. Replace it. Remind yourself that you are aware, that you are prepared, and that you are not allowing anything to take hold without your permission. Your mind is part of your house too, and it must be protected just as strongly. Another powerful step is to slow down. When urgency appears, the natural reaction is to panic or rush. But panic creates confusion, and confusion creates openings. Instead, move with calm intention. Be steady. Be clear. Because calm awareness is stronger than reactive fear. It allows you to see what is happening without being overwhelmed by it. And here is something important. Do not isolate yourself in this moment. If you feel something is off, communicate with those around you. Bring clarity into your shared space. When everyone is aligned, when everyone is aware, the environment becomes even stronger. Because unity closes doors that division can open. Right now, you are not in a position of weakness. You are in a position of advantage. You know something before it has fully happened. You had awareness before impact. And that means you have the ability to act before anything takes form. So take this moment seriously. Do not delay. Do not assume it can wait. What you do right now matters more than what you do later. Because this is the moment where prevention is still fully possible. Type "My house is sealed" in the comments. Lesson code 444 is now activated. And as you take these steps, as you shift your awareness into action, remember this. What you are doing right now is not just stopping something temporary. You are strengthening your space in a way that will continue to protect you beyond this moment. You are learning how to recognize early signs, how to respond quickly, and how to maintain control over your environment. But there is something even more powerful that comes after this. Because blocking something once is important, but learning how to stay protected continuously is what creates lasting peace. What you do next will determine everything. As you seal your house in this moment, understand this. There are thousands who have not yet heard this warning, and they are still standing unguarded. When you give, you are not just supporting a message, you are releasing a river of protection into homes that are still in danger. The Lord says, "Give, and it will be given to you. Pressed down, shaken together, and running over." And this is that moment where your obedience becomes overflow for someone else. I feel this strongly. Your seed right now is not ordinary. It is a shield being extended beyond your own walls. Through super thanks, membership, or PayPal, you are helping this message reach the exact person who needs it before their moment closes. The PayPal link is waiting in the description, and the QR code is right before you. This is your divine opportunity. As you act, may your house remain covered, and may every door you have sealed stay permanently shut to harm. Step into this now, and let your giving become a force that stops what others cannot yet see. What you have done so far is powerful. You have become aware. You have recognized what may be trying to enter, and you have taken immediate steps to block it. But now comes the part that determines whether this protection remains strong or slowly weakens over time. Because stopping something once is not the same as building a defense that continues to stand. And this is where many people make a critical mistake. They respond in the moment, but they do not maintain the alignment that keeps them protected afterward. Strengthening your spiritual defense is about consistency. It is about creating a state of awareness that does not fade once the urgency passes. Because the truth is, not every threat announces itself with a warning like this. Sometimes, the next one may come more quietly, more subtly, and without the same level of interruption. That is why what you build now matters so much. You are not just responding to this situation. You are preparing yourself for anything that may come in the future. The first thing you must understand is that protection is not a one-time action. It is a daily posture. It is something you carry with you in your thoughts, in your awareness, and in the way you manage your environment. When you wake up each day, there should be a level of intention about the space you are living in. Not fear, not anxiety, but clarity. A quiet understanding that your peace is something you actively maintain, not something you leave unguarded. One of the simplest but most powerful ways to strengthen your defense is through awareness of patterns. Pay attention to what tends to disrupt your peace. Is it certain types of conversations? Certain habits? Certain times of day when your focus drops? These patterns are not random. They are indicators of where your defenses may be weaker. And once you identify them, you can begin to correct them before they become entry points again. Another important step is learning to recognize early warnings faster. This message came as a strong and direct alert, but not all warnings will be this obvious. Sometimes, they will come as a feeling, a thought, or a small shift that you notice internally. The more you train yourself to pay attention to these subtle signals, the quicker you can respond. And the quicker you respond, the less chance anything has to grow into something bigger. Your environment also plays a major role in your defense. A chaotic, distracted, or tense environment creates openings without you even realizing it. But a calm, intentional, and balanced environment strengthens your position naturally. This does not mean everything has to be perfect. It means you are aware of the energy you allow to remain in your space. You address what feels off. You do not ignore what needs attention. You keep your environment aligned with the kind of peace you want to protect. There is also strength in discipline. Small, consistent actions that keep you grounded and aware. This could be taking a few moments each day to check in with yourself, to clear your thoughts, to reset your focus. These moments may seem simple, but they build a foundation that keeps you steady even when something tries to disrupt you. And when you are steady, you are much harder to affect. You must also guard against complacency. After a moment of urgency passes, it is easy to relax completely and assume everything is fine. But true strength comes from staying aware even when things feel calm. Not in a tense way, but in a prepared way. Because the goal is not to live in constant alertness. It is to live in consistent awareness. Another key part of strengthening your defense is sharing awareness with others. Protection becomes stronger when it is not isolated. When the people around you are also aware, also attentive, also aligned. The entire environment becomes more secure. This is why it is so important not to keep this message to yourself. Take a moment right now and act. Like this video as a confirmation that you are choosing to stay aware and protected. Subscribe to this channel so you continue receiving messages that help you stay aligned and prepared. And most importantly, share this with someone you care about, because you never know who else needs this exact warning before their moment passes. What you share today could be the very thing that protects someone else tomorrow. Also, comment below with "I stay ready" as a declaration that you are not just reacting. You are building a defense that remains strong. Because when you say it, you are reinforcing it within yourself. And here is something you must hold on to. Protection is not about living in fear of what might happen. It is about living in confidence that you are prepared. It is about knowing that you are aware, that you are attentive, and that you are not leaving your space unguarded. That confidence changes how you move, how you think, and how you respond to anything that tries to disrupt you. Right now, you have already taken a powerful step. But what you build from here is what will sustain that protection. And the more consistent you are, the stronger your defense becomes. Because this is not just about stopping one moment of danger. It is about becoming someone who recognizes, responds, and remains protected no matter what tries to approach. And as you begin to live in that awareness, something else becomes clear. There are people who ignored warnings like this, who chose not to act, who believed it was not important, and their outcomes tell a story that you need to hear. That is what we are about to uncover next. There is a reason why warnings like this carry such urgency, and it is not just because of what might happen. It is because of what has already happened to others who chose not to listen. These are not just ideas or possibility. There are real stories, real moments, where people felt something, sensed something, were given a chance to pause, and they ignored it. And later, when everything unfolded, they realized that the warning they dismissed was the very thing that could have changed the outcome. You may have heard someone say before, "I had a feeling, but I didn't act on it." Those words are more powerful than they seem. Because within them is a moment that was missed, a moment where awareness was present, but response was absent. And that gap between knowing and acting is where many people lose their opportunity to prevent what comes next. There are testimonies of people who sensed tension building in their homes but brushed it off as temporary. They noticed small arguments, subtle changes in behavior, a shift in atmosphere, but they told themselves it would pass. They didn't address it. They didn't pay close attention. And over time, those small moments grew into major conflicts that disrupted relationships, created division, and left damage that could have been avoided if they had acted earlier. There are others who felt an unexplainable unease, a quiet inner signal that something was not right. It wasn't loud enough to force action, but it was there. Instead of pausing to understand it, they distracted themselves, pushed it aside, and continued as normal. And then something unexpected happened, a sudden event, a disruption, a situation that caught them completely off guard. And in that moment, they remembered that feeling they ignored. They realized that what they dismissed was actually a warning. There are also stories of people who were given direct signs, clear indications that something needed attention. Maybe it was repeated issues, patterns that kept appearing, or moments where everything pointed to the need for change. But they delayed. They said, "I'll deal with it later." They assumed there was more time, and that assumption became their mistake. Because when the situation finally reached its peak, it was no longer something that could be easily prevented. It had already entered, already taken form, already created impact. And that is the common thread in all of these testimonies. Delay. Not a lack of intelligence, not a lack of strength, but a delay in response. A moment where awareness was present, but action was postponed. And that delay is what allowed something small to become something significant. You need to understand this clearly. Most situations that feel sudden are not truly sudden. They are the result of something that developed quietly over time. They feel sudden because they were not noticed at the beginning. But if you trace them back, there was always a starting point. There was always a moment where something could have been done. Right now, you are at that starting point. You are not hearing about something after it has already happened. You are not looking back with regret. You are standing in the exact moment where awareness is fresh, where the situation has not fully unfolded, and where your response can still change everything. This is what makes your position different from those testimonies. But it can become the same if you choose the same response. If you hear this and decide it is not important, if you feel the urgency but choose to ignore it, if you recognize the message but take no action, then you place yourself on the same path that others have already walked. And that path leads to the same realization, the realization that they were warned, but they did not listen. This is not said to create fear. It is said to create clarity. Because clarity allows you to make a different choice. You have the advantage of seeing what others did not see in time. You have the opportunity to respond where others delayed. You have the awareness that can stop something before it becomes something you have to deal with later. And that is powerful. Think about how many people wish they could go back to the moment before everything changed. How many people wish they could return to the point where they first felt something and choose differently. That is where you are right now. You are standing in a moment that others only recognize after it has passed. So do not treat this lightly. Do not assume that because nothing has happened yet, nothing will happen. That is the same assumption that many others made. And it is the reason they were not prepared when things shifted. Instead, recognize the value of this moment. Recognize that being aware before something happens is one of the greatest advantages you can have. Recognize that taking action now is far easier than trying to fix something later. Recognize that the warning you have received is not common. It is specific, it is direct, and it is timely. And most importantly, recognize that you still have a choice. A choice to respond differently. A choice to act instead of delay. A choice to take what you have heard seriously and allow it to guide what you do next. Because the testimonies you have just heard are not just stories. They are lessons. Lessons that show you what happens when warnings are ignored. But they also show you something else. They show you that it does not have to be your story. Because right now, you are still in the moment where everything can be different. And as you begin to understand that, as you begin to see the importance of responding in time, something else becomes clear. This message is not just about warning you. It is also about showing you that there is still mercy in this moment. And that is what we are about to step into next. After everything you have heard, after the urgency, the warning, the awareness of what could be approaching, there is something you must not overlook. This message is not only about danger, it is about mercy. In fact, the very fact that you are hearing this right now is proof that mercy is still active in your life. Because when something is truly meant to catch you without warning, no message comes first. No interruption happens. No awareness is given. But that is not your situation. You were warned. And that changes everything. Mercy does not always appear as comfort. Sometimes it appears as interruption. Sometimes it comes as a message that stops you in your tracks, that shifts your attention, that forces you to pause and reconsider what is happening around you. And in those moments, it may feel intense, it may feel serious, but underneath it all, it is protection in its purest form. God's intention is not to harm you. It is not to create fear in your life. It is to protect you, to guide you, and to give you the opportunity to avoid what you do not yet see. That is what mercy does. It steps in before impact. It reaches you before something unfolds. It gives you a chance to respond while there is still time. Right now, you are standing in that mercy. You are not too late. You are not in a position where something has already taken hold beyond control. You are in the exact moment where awareness can still redirect what is trying to approach. And that is not something everyone receives. There are people who only realize what happened after it has already affected them. But you are here before that point. That is not coincidence. That is care. There is also something deeply important about how you respond to mercy. Because mercy is given freely, but it must be received intentionally. It is placed in front of you, but it does not force you to accept it. And this is where your role becomes clear. You are not just hearing this message, you are being invited to respond to it. Responding to mercy means taking it seriously. It means recognizing that what has been given to you is valuable, that it carries purpose, and that it deserves your attention. It means not brushing it off, not minimizing it, and not delaying your response. It also means letting go of any thought that says, it's probably nothing, or it can wait. Because those thoughts are what cause people to miss the very thing that was meant to help them. Mercy is most effective when it is received immediately, when it is acted upon while it is fresh, while the awareness is clear. And there is something else you need to understand. Mercy is not just about avoiding something negative. It is also about aligning yourself with something better. When you respond to a warning like this, you are not only blocking what is trying to enter, you are strengthening your position, your awareness, and your connection to what protects you. That is why this moment is not just serious, it is meaningful. It is a turning point. A point where you shift from being unaware to being aware, from being passive to being intentional, from being vulnerable to being prepared. And that shift is powerful because it does not just affect this moment, it affects what comes after it. There are people who think that warnings like this are meant to limit them, to restrict them, or to make them feel controlled. But the truth is the opposite. A warning like this expands your awareness. It gives you more control, not less. It places you in a position where you can make informed decisions rather than reacting blindly. And that is freedom. Freedom to respond instead of react. Freedom to prepare instead of recover. Freedom to stand in awareness instead of being caught off guard. Right now, that freedom is in your hands. But it will not remain there if you choose to ignore what has been given to you. Because mercy, while powerful, is also time-sensitive. It appears when it is needed, and it remains available for a window of time. And within that window, your response determines what happens next. You are still within that window. You are still in the moment where everything you have heard can be applied, where every step you have taken can make a difference, where every realization can be turned into action. And that is something you should not take lightly. Because being warned is one thing, but responding to the warning is what creates the outcome. So right now, let this settle in your mind clearly. You are not alone in this moment. You are not being left to figure things out without guidance. You have been given exactly what you need to recognize what is happening and to respond in a way that protects you. That is mercy, and it is still here. But there is one final step, one final decision that brings everything together. Because after awareness, after action, after understanding, There is always a moment where you must choose fully. A moment where you decide whether you will stand in what you have received or walk away from it. And that is what we are about to step into next. Now you have reached the final moment of this message. Everything had been revealed step by step. You have been shown the warning, the urgency, the nature of what is trying to approach, and the power you hold to stop it. But now, everything comes down to one final truth. This is a moment of decision. Not later. Not tomorrow. Right now. Because a warning, no matter how clear, only becomes protection when it is fully received and acted upon. You are no longer in a place of uncertainty. You are no longer unaware. You cannot say you didn't know, or that you weren't given a chance. This message has made everything clear. It has brought you to a point where you must choose. Will you stand in the protection that has been placed before you, or will you walk away and leave yourself exposed? This is not about fear. It is about responsibility. Because now you carry awareness, and awareness creates accountability. You know that something was trying to enter your house. You know that this message stood in its way. You know that your response determines whether that barrier remains strong or begins to weaken. And knowing all of this means that what happens next is no longer random. It is connected to your decision. Some people will hear messages like this and dismiss them. They will tell themselves it is not serious, that it is just words, that nothing will happen. And in that moment, they make a silent choice. A choice to step away from awareness and return to distraction. A choice to ignore what was placed in front of them. And often, they do not realize the weight of that choice until something shifts in a way they did not expect. But you are not in that position. You have stayed. You have listened. You have followed this message all the way to this point. And that means something. It means you are not treating this lightly. It means you recognize that there is value in what you have heard. It means you are willing to pause and consider what is being revealed to you. And that alone places you in a different position than those who turn away too quickly. But now you must complete the process. Because listening is only the first step. Choosing is the final one. Right now, choose to stand in protection. Choose to remain aware. Choose to carry forward everything you have understood in this moment. Do not let this become something you forget once the message ends. Do not allow the awareness you feel right now to fade back into distraction. Hold on to it. Act on it. Let it influence how you move, how you think, and how you protect your space. Because what you do after this matters just as much as what you have done so far. Declare within yourself that your house is covered, that your space is protected, that nothing uninvited has permission to enter. Let that decision be firm, not temporary. Let it be something you stand on, not something you question later. And understand this clearly, protection is not something you wait for. It is something you step into. Right now, you are stepping into it. And as you do, there is something powerful that begins to happen. The very thing that was trying to approach loses its access. The door it was looking for begins to close. The opportunity it was waiting for starts to disappear. Not because it was never there, but because you chose to respond before it could fully arrive. That is the power of this moment. That is the difference your awareness has made. And that is why this message came to you before anything unfolded. So now, seal this moment with your decision. Type "I receive this warning" in the comments. Blessing code 777 is now activated. Let the declaration be more than words. Let it be a confirmation that you are not ignoring what you have heard, that you are standing in alignment with it, and that you are choosing protection over silence. because silence is what allows things to pass unnoticed. But you are no longer silent. You are aware. You are prepared. And you have chosen to respond. So move forward with confidence, not fear. Move forward knowing that you have taken the steps that many ignore. Move forward understanding that this moment was not kakui, it was intentional, and it has now become a turning point. What was trying to enter has been confronted. What was unseen hath been revealed. And what could have happened has now been challenged by your awareness and your decision. This is not the end of something negative. This is the beginning of something stronger. A stronger awareness. A stronger protection. A stronger position moving forward. You were warned, and you listened. You were given a moment, and you responded. And because of that, you are not the same as you were before this message began. You are now someone who saw, understood, and chose. And that choice changes everything. As you step into this final decision, understand this. Your response today is not only protecting your house, it is opening a door for countless others to receive this same warning before their moment passes. The Lord declares, "Those who sow in tears shall reap in joy," and right now, your giving becomes a seed that carries protection into homes still standing unaware. I feel this strongly. When you act in this moment, you are not giving to a message. You are releasing light into places where darkness is still approaching. Through super thanks, membership, or a PayPal offering, you become part of a divine flow that spreads this urgency to the exact soul who needs it next. The PayPal link is in the description, and the QR code is before you. This is your appointed moment to act. As you give, may your house remain sealed, may your peace remain untouched, and may every unseen plan against you be turned away permanently. Step forward now, and let your obedience become a covering not just for you, but for many.